Why America is entering a horrific financial crisis. We find ourselves in a situation that is quite dangerous. The warning signs of economic instability are all around us, and there is a rising concern that the United States dollar may lose its position as the reserve currency of the world. The question that looms big is whether or not we are on the verge of experiencing a recession that is even more severe than the one that occurred in 2008. According to the data, not only are we on the verge of experiencing such a decline, but it is also possible that we are now experiencing it. Historians may refer to this period as a depression when they later look back on it. The growth of the economy is questionable. The data that are officially released by the government offer a positive picture of the expansion of the economy. Nevertheless, a more in-depth examination reveals a different scenario. According to the opinions of many people, the methodology that was employed to compute these data is misleading. In many parts of the United States, the level of living is deteriorating. It is not accurate to say that the economy is growing. Rather, we are increasing our borrowing and getting deeper into debt. The inflation that we are seeing causes GDP estimates to be distorted, giving the impression that the economy is expanding when, in reality, it is only the inflation that is responsible for driving up prices and expenditures. The challenges that are faced by average Americans. A pinch is being felt by the American people. As the cost of living continues to climb, an increasing number of people are being forced to work several jobs to find a way to make ends meet. A populace that is fighting to stay afloat rather than one that is prospering is indicated by record levels of debt, including debt from student loans and credit card debt. One would expect that individuals would be paying off their loans and building up their savings in a truly robust economy, but the opposite is happening. There was a collapse in savings. Savings rates have dropped precipitously over the past few years, which is a strong indication of economic suffering. To meet their fundamental needs, individuals are emptying their savings. If the economy were robust, we would see a reduction in the deficits of the government and an increase in the amount of money from taxes. Instead, we are experiencing record deficits in both the budget and trade, which is a further indication that the economy is in decline. The reliance on goods imported from other countries. Our reliance on goods from other countries is just another concerning indicator. The United States is becoming more and more reliant on imports, even though a robust economy would generate and consume its goods. Debt is used to finance this dependence because we do not have the wages or savings to be able to buy these imports without taking out loans. The forces that are responsible for the decline of the economy. Economics is based on a set of concepts that are comparable to those of physics. A recession or depression is on the edge of occurring. By utilizing debt and inflation, we have been able to prevent a more severe crisis from occurring. Nevertheless, this method will only serve to postpone the inevitable reckoning with our previous errors. It is difficult to foresee how the government will react in the future to this developing crisis, which may make the prevailing circumstances even worse. There is a danger of hyperinflation. Since the beginning of the financial crisis that occurred in 2008, the possibility of hyperinflation has been a persistent concern. We are now on a path that might potentially lead to high inflation as a result of the reaction that the government provided to that crisis, particularly through the use of quantitative easing. Even though hyperinflation is still the worst-case scenario, high inflation is currently being experienced and is expected to become even more severe. The impact of quantitative easing. Our current economic predicament has been made worse by quantitative easing, which is a euphemism for the creation of money. This behavior results in a rise in the money supply, which in turn causes inflation. In the process of spending this newly created money, the government reduces the value of the money that is already in circulation, which increases prices that are essentially a tax on everyone. Even though everyone is affected by this covert tax, it is frequently overlooked. It's a fallacy that prices remain stable. The public has been deceived as a result of the government's manipulation of inflation measurements and its reasons for quantitative easing. Even though they say that price increases are not only essential but also advantageous, this is a fallacy. With genuine economic stability, prices would remain stable or even decrease, which would be beneficial to consumers because it would result in a reduction in the cost of living. The economy is under a bubble. There was a time when in the field of economics, there was a concept that was so intriguing that it caught the hearts and minds of the general public. This concept was known as the bubble economy. I am currently under the influence of consumerism. If people believe that as prices go down, they become miserly animals who hold their coins like precious gems, then this is nothing more than a simple misconception. Not at all, since the very base of our society is where our economic problems lie. It is an economy that is built upon the altar of spending, which is a fragile bubble that is just waiting to burst through. The fallacy of encouragement as a concept. In this busy marketplace where desire is as free as the wind, there is no need to stimulate buying because there is all the money already being spent. As a result of the insatiable want for more, every soul has a strong desire to acquire material belongings. Nevertheless, it is unfortunate that in our quest for rapid gratification, we disregard the wisdom of delaying indulgence and instead forego the virtue of saving money. Unraveling the enigma of costs and inflation. Take a look at the intricate dance of costs and prices, which are connected like lovers forever holding hands. Nevertheless, in the symphony of the market, they are merely two sides of the same coin, each of which shapes the other in careful choreography. Within the world of capitalism, innovation is the most powerful force, ushering a period that is characterized by decreased costs and increased productivity. When it comes to outsourcing, China is the dragon's embrace. On the other hand, there is a dragon that stirs from its slumber on the horizon. It is the powerful dragon of China. As part of our efforts to acquire more affordable products, we entered into a contract with this elderly beast, which allowed us to outsource our production and enjoy the bittersweet benefits of reduced prices. Nevertheless, a cost is incurred with every agreement that is reached, and our region is subjected to the burden of trade imbalances and the forfeiture of livelihoods. What a myopic view politicians have. The next election is the only thing that our politicians are thinking about as the sun goes down on the realm. They are so enamored with power that they cannot see anything. Even though the threat of long-term consequences is getting closer and closer, they continue to saturate us with promises and potions, numbing us to the sufferings of our state of economic predicament. A lesson that was not learned. Because of our foolishness, we are celebrating the short-term benefits of government intervention, completely blind to the storm that is brewing on the horizon. We are numb to the calls of reason, and we sprint blindly into our destruction, just like a football player who has been injected with a false sense of courage. The specter of inflation is a concern. Considering that this is a story about economic hardship, there is no free lunch and there is no magic potion that can cure our troubles. Although the government can print money, it is not able to create commodities out of thin air. As the shadow of inflation continues to grow larger, we are reminded that the ultimate source of prosperity is not printed paper, but rather the sweat of our labor and the fruits of our labor. How the Ponzi scheme was finally brought to light. As a result, we find ourselves caught up in a massive Ponzi scheme, a web of debt and fraudulent activity that has the potential to engulf every one of us. As the value of the dollar continues to decline and our debts continue to rise, we are on the verge of a reckoning that will need every one of us to make sacrifices and go through laborious efforts. Conclusion. We have now reached the end of our cautionary story about the bubble economy, which is a tale of hubris and short-sightedness, as well as greed and foolishness. To avoid being doomed to repeat its errors for future generations, may we be wise enough to pay attention to the lessons it tells us. Would you like it? Don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative video.